On the agenda this evening, first things, call to order at 7:02. The minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any comments on the minutes?
I did have one. There was something in there about a pole at the end of Little Brook, and for some reason I don't remember that. I do believe I was at the meeting, but I must have missed that discussion. Can anybody tell me what that was about?
Dave, you're on deck. Dave Stewart?
Yeah, Dave Stewart.
What was the question?
The pole that was in the Sin and Flesh.
Oh, sorry. I thought he said pool, like a swimming pool. The pole has been removed.
The pole's been removed?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, great.
They removed it almost immediately after we had the meeting and contacted them. It was removed.
Oh, because I was trying to find this Little Brook, and I didn't know what that was. And that was in the gut, in the Nanaquacket Pond gut?
The gut, the very intersection where Highland Road meets Main Road.
Oh, okay.
Up on the hill. Before Evelyn's, on the, just the very southern tip of the gut.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great.
So that's been taken care of.
So with that explained, I'd make a motion to accept the minutes of the...
I'll second that.
Oh.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. You don't have to do your roll call on that. Public comment section. Action cannot be made by motion on topics raised. Any comments from the public?
There are 4 people in the attendees room. I believe.
Do anybody in the attendees room wish to make a comment? Please raise your hand so that the operator here can identify you. We have Ben. Good evening, Ben.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Ben Getch, CRMC Aquaculture Coordinator. Saw one of the agenda items was related to an aquaculture application. I just wanted to make my presence known and my input. I'm here for questions if the council has them.
Very good.
Thank you.
Why is that? The wrong folder. Nope. Okay. Yeah, that has to do with a comment by Kenny Mendez, which will actually come up in our correspondence section as well. We received his letter, obviously, and a rather extensive PowerPoint presentation that I forwarded on to the board members.
Yep.
Don't know if we want to take it now or at a subsequent time. Let's roll through what we have. Sea level rise. We're on, Bill, are we on the town council agenda?
I haven't, you wanted to go on the end of July, right? You said, I believe, the last meeting in July.
I believe that was correct.
I haven't put it there yet. We're still dealing with June, but I was going to submit it probably the first week in July.
Okay.
So we're on sea level rise?
Right.
Okay, so I should tell you I joined the Rhode Island Foundation for Mitigation, or Rhode Island Flood Mitigation Association, RIFMA. So they're worried about flood mitigation throughout the whole state, and also what Rhode Island can contribute to reducing CO2. So I'm on the board now, and I'm on the technical committee of the board.
Great.
That's great.
Give me the acronym again, please.
The RIFMA, Rhode Island Flood Management Association.
Thanks for stepping up, Charles. It's a great thing that you did there.
You know my thing. We got to do something about this climate change and sea level rise.
Going on to the correspondence, obviously we have the that which we received from Kenny Mendez. Let's see if we don't have Phyllis here regarding the old business. Jumping down to the F item regarding the Sepauwett and Fogland ramps, because she was going to talk to somebody about improving the road to Sepauwett. And right. Paul, did you ever get a chance to call CRMC about access on the ramp?
I did. I sent emails. I sent a few emails. Never got any response. I didn't call anybody because I didn't know who to call. And I called the number and I got some kind of answering machine and I said, well, I ain't going this way. But does anybody know a person that we should contact? Is there somebody assigned to accesses to waterway, to these right-of-ways and to these boat ramps and stuff? Is there anybody that I can call? Because there's about 1 million people listed in the CRMC webpage. So
Yeah.
There's nobody?
I don't know. The only person I really know there is Kevin Cute, who's the guy who helped us with supposed to help us with the harbor management plan. He did help us back when we worked on it before.
All right. Well,
he's quite helpful.
That would be the guy.
If nothing else, you can reach out to him, and he might be able to direct it. It's the name Cute, Kevin Cute.
Hey, Bruce, it's Ben.
Yes,
Can I chime in?
Sure.
So there was recently a webinar that has been posted onto YouTube on rights-of-way issues with CRMC. I can get that link and share it with you guys.
That'd be great.
I believe there is contact information in there. It's also just a good overview of what the program is, the requirements. There are some rather technical, legal, requirements to get these things recognized properly. But I think from what I remember, we actually may be getting some legal interns to help us do some of that legwork. So I'll forward you that link and hopefully that will get you guys started in a good direction. I'm happy to help however I can. It's not my, ball of wax, but I believe Kevin Cute is the staff in charge of that program. But it is, yeah.
Q-U-T-E?
Yes, Q-U-T-E.
C-U-T-E.
Cute, like what a cute baby.
Like C-U-T-E, okay. And I did contact. This is going back before the pandemic. Well, at the beginning of it, the town solicitor. I can't even remember his name right now. But he said he would do what he can to help me, but he really didn't know what he could do.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this link to this what is it? A YouTube video.
Right.
For right-of-way accesses in Rhode Island, and that's a CRMC video. So that might be very helpful in getting me started.
Yeah, I'm gonna send that link to you right now, Bruce, and you can distribute it to the members.
Oh, you're gonna send it to my office? You're gonna send it to my home? Why don't you send it to my office, the H. Cox at Slipco Law, and that way I have the group right in there, and I'll forward it tomorrow.
Very good.
Great. Thank you very much, Ben.
Happy to help.
Yep. Now that I found the right agenda. Right. The other piece of correspondence, we'll pick it up later. The dinghy landing at Stonebridge abutment. Mr. Stewart, you're on deck. You got some good news.
Yeah, well, we applied for a maintenance permit with the CRMC after talking to them and explaining the situation, because originally they wanted us to start from scratch and have to, go through the whole new construction with, engineering and everything else. So fortunately, they accepted it as maintenance. We sent the application in and we've already had it returned and it's accepted, right, Bruce? I mean, that's
correct.
it's been accepted. I contacted Denise Charette this morning. The $10,000 that was put aside, I believe, at the meeting, town council meeting in February, she said that it's available for the project. As far as access to the funds, we would handle it as we do any other project, since the from a restricted account will not revert to the general fund at 6/30 and will continue to be available into financial year 22. Any expense related to the project will have to be approved by the committee chair and submitted to our office for a payment. So from everything I gather, we can start moving ahead and possibly start speaking with Rick Rogers about getting this whole thing rolling. I mean, we have $10,000 available. We've all looked at the docs. We know pretty well what needs to be done. So now it's just a question of, I guess, getting people as well as volunteers and Rick and his crew to start doing something. So,
Excellent.
I mean, it's, go ahead.
Do you know how much of that is able to be done by volunteers versus by employees of the town, for instance, for moving of the hardware from the old floats to the new floats?
I just got this message from Denise today saying that the money, everybody, I talked to a bunch of different people and everybody said the money was here, there, but nobody really had a handle on when we could actually access the money. So Denise obviously is the most, I mean, she's the one that writes the checks. I got her. She knows where the money is and money's available. But so I'm planning to talk to Rick, hopefully tomorrow, to find out what his team is available to do and what they can do, what they can't do. And I do have some friends and volunteers that are willing to, you know, chip in. I know Charlie Smith has got great connections. Then I know the guy John DeVoe and Henry Little and some other people have all said they'd be willing to help. But until we have the funds, everybody kind of had their hands tied. Now that we know we have the funds, I think I mean, it's pretty written. And also we need to put in some pilings, but $10,000 should be able to handle everything. And I don't know. I think it's great news. I think we should be able to chug ahead.
It's spectacular news. Great. That makes me very happy. I have not had a chance to talk to the gentleman at National Grid. I've been busy with other things. I apologize to you for that.
Hey, Bruce.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Donna's got her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Donna?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it would be helpful if you put in an agenda item for all of these questions and how to go forward, because if you have the agenda item in from the Harbor Commission tomorrow, I think by 12 or 2 o'clock, you'll be on the agenda. I don't know if you want to do that.
No, we mean put it on the town council agenda.
Next week. It would be for the following week.
Okay.
You put in a request to be on the agenda. All of these questions maybe can be answered when we have our next meeting. I think it's on a Tuesday because I think it's Flag Day.
Flag Day is the 14th, isn't it? Something like that. Flag Day is the 14th.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't.
What questions are we looking for?
Pretty much everything you just said. Just go, you know, how do we access the money? Rick, DPW.
I think we've already
Just, you know.
I spoke to Denise and she said the money's there. So I don't know why we have to go to the town council and ask permission to get the money that we already have.
Well, there seems to be a question to me, it seemed like there's a question as to how to access the money. Also, you want to know if you can use Rick. I think it can all be answered maybe at it's up to you. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, all right. As far as the money, they say Denise, who I have terrific faith in, says the money is available. It's been approved.
Oh yeah, it is available.
So,
yeah.
So why do we need to talk to the town council again to ask permission to use the money?
No, you don't have to ask. I'm not asking you to ask permission. I already know the money's available.
Yeah.
It just seemed a little confusing as to how to access the money. Do they want you to start the work and then give the receipt, or can you access the money beforehand?
She said it looks like the town council approved the spending in February, so there's 10,000 available. As the project,
Yes.
as far as the access to the funds, we would handle it as we do any other project. Since the funding is from the restricted account, then what we have to do is all expenses related have to be approved by the committee chair.
The committee chair being,
Committee chair of the budget.
Right.
oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know. She just said, who's the committee chair? It must be the budget committee.
And I don't, is it the committee chair as of the budget committee, committee chair as in me, or what?
You keep your receipts, Bruce. That's all. Just keep
Right.
your receipts.
All right, so it's
Yeah.
so it's Bruce. Okay.
Right.
So I mean, as far as dealing with Rick, that could be a time. I mean, I don't know really how to approach Rick and getting his staff to be involved. I don't really know how that procedure works.
Well, that might need approval by the town council, but once again, I'm not sure, because you're asking for, town funds to be used for this
Bill?
project.
Bill Vieira?
I would say just give Chris a call if you need DPW help. Go through Chris, and Chris probably can tell you what's available and what's the best way of contacting the DPW and what their time frame and schedule is. But the money's there. You guys know how to use it.
right,
Just keep moving forward. We've had enough meetings on this. Let's move forward. And any questions, Bruce, just contact Chris and partner up with the DPW.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, this was also Rick's budget item agenda as well, prior to COVID. So my suspicion is you can just call up Rick and say, hey, Rick, how do you want to work this thing? Or pop in and make an appointment to go talk to him.
Yeah, I would just say go through Chris, because you never know what Rick's schedule is. You could call him and not hear anything from a week. So, that's all I'm saying is maybe Chris would know Rick's schedule better in the event of whatever's happening. That's all.
I will make a point of reaching out to Chris as soon as I can. I know him well. I'll see what his feelings, but Rick and I have been down this whole road. He's ready to roll. As Bruce said, we're all on the same page with this. And it's just a question of getting it rolling. But I will definitely get Chris's blessing and see where we go.
Very good.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. The next two items actually are the aquaculture ordinances that we need to put into the harbor management plan, and then trying to figure out a way of scheduling harbor management plan meetings via Zoom. Andy, you were kind enough to say you had a Zoom account and that we could use that, and it's perfectly fine so long as we just post it like we normally post this meeting here, and that's not hard to do. All I need to do is be given the Zoom contact information, so I then cut and paste and drop it on the agenda. And I know that the weather sucks, and it's just a terrible time of year outside, and everyone looks forward to inside meetings. So what are people's feelings about meetings during the course of this summer now on the evenings via Zoom?
I like them.
Huh?
I like them myself.
You like Zoom meetings, right? I like Zoom meetings as well. But do people have times and weeks that are better and not better than others?
Yeah, I think we do. It's probably I'm looking for my calendar now. It's probably on a week by week basis.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're not going to do Friday evenings. That's just ludicrous. I have commitments. Obviously, the first Monday of every month and the second Tuesday of every month, I have commitments already. I race on Wednesday nights, so that's a serious commitment. Thursdays are probably the more open nights for me. What are people's feelings?
I can usually do, there's one Thursday I can't do a month, but otherwise I can do Thursdays.
I can't do any Thursdays.
I like Monday. Thursdays are, I like to start the weekend on a Thursday.
Okay. Anyone else have feelings about Mondays versus Thursdays?
Mondays will work for me.
Mondays will work for you, Chip. All right.
Yeah, Mondays, there's one Monday, I guess there's two Mondays. There's the Harbor Commission, then I've got another meeting that I don't always have to go to, but otherwise I'm available on Mondays. So I can do most of them.
Okay.
We could always switch a Monday to a Tuesday if there was a.
Right. We can post a meeting. All I need is 48 hours lead time for posting purposes. So, we can be flexible on that. We do not have to meet consistently on the exact same time every so on and so forth. And people like generally 7 o'clock as a start time to get home, have a bite and get on to the meeting, or they want to start earlier, or how do they feel about that?
7's fine with me.
7's good.
Okay. And if everyone wonders why Greg is being so quiet, Greg has an announcement at the end of the conclusion of business. All right.
Sure.
I'll look at what my professional calendar looks like and get back to people with a series of dates. When are people on vacation? I'm on vacation the week of July 12th rather. So I'm out that week. How about other people?
I'm in August.
Okay.
I'm unplanned. It's usually when my wife looks ahead a week and says, I don't have much going on, so let's go.
And Chip is on permanent vacation.
Yeah.
Attaboy. I love you. I envy you.
Well, I'll be in the Adirondacks, but I can get you by Zoom.
That's true. Okay. We can hunt you down. All right. So, okay. I will get back to you folks with dates. Series of dates. See if we can get moving on this thing. Okay. Okay. That takes care of those two things and the private Zoom thing that we can actually do. Stonebridge Docks, we've already done. Abandoned boat, the boat on Riverside Drive.
Wait a minute. I went back to Stonebridge Docks.
Certainly.
I remember last month's meeting. We need to talk about also about the rules. If there's any fees for people using it, transients we need to talk about, parking we needed to talk about. So there's a lot more things, I guess, that have to be ironed out for, or access to the dock. I don't know if there's going to be a key to the gate that's there and all that stuff. But I just wanted to bring all that up so we don't forget that it's not a done deal until signs need to be made and whatnot. So I don't know if you want to talk about that this meeting or you want to talk about that next meeting. But
well, it's sort of a wide open agenda item. Paul, you have some thoughts on that?
I really don't, but I mean nothing. I didn't really give it too much thought, but I did. When I was reading the agenda, I did see that we discussed it in the last meeting, but we didn't really come up with anything. And remember the parking area we were going to use? We were going to try to use that area behind the Red Dory, which is the town's land down back there. We were going to, making everybody that puts a dinghy on that dock some type of sticker, or because dinghies don't have to be registered, but they should have a sticker with who owns it and the telephone.
They have a motor, they have to be registered.
If they, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the case.
Rowboat and the kayak don't. If you have a motor on it, it has to be registered.
Right,
Hey,
so,
hey, once it is in place, once the dock is in place, who's gonna manage and be responsible for it?
exactly, yeah, that's
That's the
another-
bottom line. That's who should be coming up with policy and, you know,
Yeah.
they're gonna, or at least proposing it.
And the other thing that maybe I can inject here quickly.
Can
is,
anybody answer my question?
What was that?
Do we know who's gonna be responsible for it?
Oh,
in
I
place?
don't, no, we haven't even discussed it.
Is
We
it
haven't even, yeah, we
kind
haven't.
of obvious per,
More work for the harbor master, police, who knows?
So who specifically is responsible for that beach,
What beach?
Rick.
The beach
Grinnell
on that?
Beach.
Grinnell's Beach?
Yeah, another thing, I don't know. Is
I think
Parks and
Recreation is responsible
Parks and
for it.
Recreation responsible for that? Because they take the fees and everything, right? Who takes the fees for the beach?
Is that
Well,
right, Bill?
what's the designated? What's the plan with the dock? Are we doing transients? We doing dinghies? What's the
That's
plan
a-
that we're gonna have there?
We don't have a plan right now.
I know.
We need to come up with one, yeah.
Well, I think ideally we want to do a combination of both. We want to do some transients, and then I think the recreation committee has to get involved, obviously, and ideally there will be a fee for people leaving their dinghies there for seasonal pass for transients, and it would be nice, I would think, eventually to have the fireboat and the harbor master boat there.
That would all make sense in the long run when everything's all set up, but, yeah.
So if there's a dinghy fee, I can add it on like a mooring fee that'd be sent out every year.
Right. Right. I don't know, Tyler. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, we just got to figure out if it's going to be all dinghies or if it's going to be half dinghies, half transient. I mean, if you're thinking about putting the police and fireboat there, you lose half your dock.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm not for leaving the patrol boat at a public dock with everyone that can go on it. Same with the fireboat, but
I mean, these are things we have to work out. I think that's a recreation thing. I mean, first of all, we got to get the thing rolling. We got to get it docked there. I'm sure between everybody, we can figure out some sort of way to make it work. But the old chicken and the egg thing. And
We can put a security gate on a float so that the harbor master and the fireboats are on the last float. And then there's a security gate. They use that in Barrington. I think they still use it over at the police cove
right.
between the
Yeah,
bridges.
and then you're
I'll
gonna need,
look
you know
into
what else
that.
you're gonna need? You're not gonna need a camera on top of a poles out there or something.
The camera, I spoke to Patricia Hilton. The camera that we put up at Grinnell's Beach is strong enough and expensive enough to certainly handle all of that. It's already in place.
Oh, that's great. Well, then, I mean, I don't know how much it costs to keep those boats at Standish, but I mean that could certainly offset the price of, if.
But it's about
Docks with it.
$3,500 a year, I think, per boat.
Tyler, what's the budget for the being at Standish?
yeah, the slip's $32.50.
Mm-hmm.
So 60.
The fireboat's a little less
65.
since it's smaller.
65 is certainly would pay for itself, and maybe for extending it and making it bigger and making it better in the future. Who knows?
Well, the bigger and better is a coastal issue, but yeah, that you'd have to go back to coastal for. But yeah,
Oh, of course we would.
success.
I think we'd also need to look at the tie-up mechanisms to get a sense for what kind of density we can get out of these. If it's just going to be dinghies tied up at the dock and they just kind of squeeze them all in, that's one thing. If you've got something like a clothesline for the permanent dinghies, that's something else. And I assume we're talking about leaving them in the water all the time.
Yep.
So there's, which is not going to make it very popular for permanent dinghies probably, but maybe for people that are happy to, they're just down for a month or something, they might take that. But until we have a sense for the density, we probably can't even make a decision on how we want to do it because we don't have a sense for the numbers that we're dealing with.
Well, I think that's the whole thing. We have to put the thing in there, then we have to analyze it. But until we get it in there, we're really not going to know what we have to market. But
Yeah.
we've got the funds,
maybe we
and
should
we've
just
got
take
the
that
funds,
step-
we got the place, we got the permission.
Take that step by step then, and talk
You know,
about the rules, regulations, signs, what needs to be done to the docks to make them so they can tie up. We tie them up by the nose, you know, and let the sterns float free of the dinghies. And
How much dock is there over there? How much dockage are you planning on putting in?
I thought there was like 60 feet.
It's about 60. It's about 60 feet.
Yeah.
There are three floats that are 24 feet long each, 7
That's-
feet wide.
That's a lot of dock.
No, it's a lot of dock, and these docks are in beautiful condition.
Right.
Hey, if we can't figure out, it sounds like we can't figure out who's going to be in charge of the thing once it's in place. Is that an appropriate question to go to the town council, to have the town council decide and assign that responsibility? And is that the way the system should work?
Yeah, probably. I would.
Right now,
I think we can make recommendations. We can
Yeah.
probably talk to recreation, see how they feel about it. One element of it is that this is, interesting legal element is the question of general public versus town public from a perspective of funding. The Stonebridge abutment was largely federal funds. Is this an extension of the Stonebridge abutment, or is this a project of Tiverton monies only, which very well might be the case? I don't know. Bill, you had your hand up.
We can put this on the agenda for the end of July too, to stop broaching it, to stop talking about it. So when
Right.
if we're there, we can stop. I can add that to the agenda.
Right. We have if I'm not mistaken, we have a Harbor Commission meeting. I don't know if we skipped to the 5th or if we stayed on it. I'd have to look at the listing. I don't have the calendar of meetings right here at my fingertips.
We went to the 12th.
Oh, did
No,
we? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we went to the 12th. I'm sure we didn't schedule it on the 5th.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I may be attending by way of Zoom from wherever I am as well.
Oh, you hot traveler, you.
Well, Hadley's Harbor would be a nice place to be zooming in from, right?
Hey,
I bet you the Forbes have some pretty good Wi-Fi out there
I bet.
if they allow you in on it. All right. Yeah, we raised a lot of good issues, Paul. Very good issues. Glad you mentioned all that. The focus has been so much on get it, and then it's like, okay, now we get it. How do we fly it?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of examples of places from yacht clubs and this, that, and the other of how we can, manage the length of one of my yacht clubs. I'm on the waterfront committee, and we have a rule. Obviously, it's bow to you got 8-foot painter, and the prop has to be covered with either a bucket or something so it doesn't damage another boat. And then we have to figure out obviously what spacing works between boats. I mean, it's not that difficult. I mean, there is obviously some. No, I mean, there's every yacht club has the same issue, and we can just learn from them. And it's.
And we can talk to Bristol as well, because they have a very large public marina.
Right.
In
I mean,
Bristol.
It's done everywhere.
Yeah.
but the starting point is knowing who's responsible for coming up with the plan and organizing it and running it. So
No, I think your point, Greg, your point is obviously great. I mean, obviously that's what we got to do. It's got to be sorted out. And you think the recreation committee has got to have some serious involvement, and Harbor Commission, and I don't know who else. But
I know
don't
that
think-
what you call it, the town of Bristol has dinghy racks everywhere in all the public access points. They have these racks where
Right.
dinghies and kayaks and longboards are kept and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't know about dinghy access in the water in Bristol.
Newport has several locations. Sail Newport has locations. There's plenty of examples that we can go to and find out
I know a lot of the yacht clubs have, if you have your boat on a mooring, there's like a what do you call it, boat that takes you out there.
Launch.
Yeah, they have launches, but you know, that I'm assuming that costs the owner money. I mean, that costs the people money.
We're not looking for a launch. We're looking for dinghy.
We're not going into the launch business.
We're not in the launch business. No, we're going to charge. Ideally, you're going to get a seasonal pass to leave your dinghy there, and
right.
It's not that tough to figure out.
No.
You know, another thing to think about in a slightly different way is which businesses benefit from having people, transients come in and use the docks, and there may be some way of getting some type of a partnership going.
Right. Cumberland Farms.
Cumberland Farms, the Red Dory, Coastal,
the coffee shop.
Yep.
Coffee shop, yep.
Anchor Newport. I don't know. There's a bunch of them. Cumberland Farms is the one we should go after, and we should go after them to clean up the rack, because that place, everything else has been organized down there, and that place hasn't been changed. I've lived there 32 years, and it's still.
I think we're a little far off the agenda.
I can't agree with you,
all right.
I think we're a little far out. Yeah. We're over 100 feet from the water.
Yeah,
Time out.
we're a little far off the agenda there, Mrs. Stewart. Okay.
Gee, I figured out a way to end the discussion by deepening it.
Good move.
Yeah, all right.
There is a friend in the attendees that has their hand raised. I don't know.
Who has their friend?
Friend.
Whoever you are, step forward. Fred Souza. How do you do, Fred?
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Congratulations on getting that approved. That's great.
Yeah.
So the only thing I could say was we've had this in the past, and I would revert to how it worked before without going into great detail. You know, I don't think it was that long ago that we had this, and it worked pretty good. The second thing I wanted to say was whoever runs the beach, I think that's our biggest contention is access to the gate, and whether you have to walk from Main Road or we're going to use Grinnell's for an unload zone. I think that's our only problem. The rest is self-explanatory.
Okay. Interesting.
point.
Right?
And my suggestion and my thoughts were try and keep it in-house with the Harbor Commission, because it sounds like it's your jurisdiction, and the more hands in the pie, the more complicated, the more aggravation you're going to have. And I say try and take care of it. The Harbor Master, Tyler's quite capable. It sounds pretty straightforward, and just keep it right here, because the more people we ask, we're just never going to get anywhere.
Right. And if we're saving the town the kind of money on the harbor master and the fireboat that looks like we could, and if we could start charging little fees for the dinghy storage, we may very well be able to have a dock attendee or part-time person or something like that. I don't know.
As far as, and I had a comment on the fireboat and the harbor master boat. This project was always a dinghy dock. It was never designated, in my opinion, for the fireboat or the harbor master boat. There were 2 pictures on Facebook recently of 2 piers that were down there. There isn't a whole lot of water. 60 feet sounds like a lot of dockage until it's low tide, and then you're suddenly down to 30 feet. I think the harbor master boat's 25 plus. There isn't room for 2 boats down there. There's no facilities, and it takes away our transient dock. So in my opinion, we're not prepared to have the fireboat or the harbor master there.
Yeah, but my opinion is let's look towards the future. Okay?
I agree, but let's
towards
get this
the future. Okay,
it's
not
operation.
just give it up here and be done with it. I think the town should be doing a lot
I completely agree with Fred also on that.
more. Yeah.
You're not ready for that. It's a great idea.
No,
And,
you're not ready for that. No, you're not.
I'm not talking about putting them over there this year. I don't think that's feasible. I think we got to get in and see how it floats, literally.
Right. But I think down the road we can take that picture and say, listen, we had this in the past. That would be a great project for next year to put a second dock and maybe a T or something like that, and we could expand on this.
Yep.
One issue that exists with this, is the original dock ramp was significantly shorter than the new ramp that we have. And so the whole system may very well be able to be moved out further from the standing platform than was originally designed, thus getting you into water. Because I know at low tide under the platform, you're standing on the earth, but even at low tide, it drops off fairly quickly right after that.
Yeah, it does.
Quite quickly. I went down there at moon low and I had half an oar length depth. I had 3-4 feet of depth very quickly at one of the first pilings after the platform.
Yeah.
God, that was 3 years ago. But anyway.
I did have one other question. The maintenance agreement that CRMC agreed to, does it have drawings or any limitations before we start moving the piling out, moving the floats out and adding other pilings?
No, it does not have any limitations. We told them what we had, which is basically the same system, which it's the docks are a little wider. The old docks were 20 feet by 6 feet. These are 7 feet by 20 feet. So there's another 60 square feet of coverage on the bottom, obviously. And no, we hadn't said that we may have to. It's a non-engineering comment. I'm not an engineer, but I do know that your rise over run will dictate where the ramp hits, and I see probably no reason to have the ramp hit in the middle of the overall system, so that you have half the people coming up banging their head against the ramp. The other interesting thing is the ramp is actually a handicap accessible ramp. Probably should focus on trying to make ourselves handicap accessible, at least to the platform. And with a 12/1 run, which is what you need for handicap, in other words, 1 inch of vertical to every foot of horizontal, that's the handicap standard. I do believe when we take out the blocks that are on the stone bridge abutment now and bring that access point down to the grade level that's on the stone bridge abutment, that will pretty easily be able to do the 12/1 pitch. May need to get a waiver, may not. But my measuring of things when I was down there told me that we're pretty damn close.
Yeah, I think we can achieve that if we take those blocks out. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So I have another meeting with Rick Rogers tomorrow. I'll mention it to him in conversation, and we'll make a plan to get the thing floated.
Absolutely wonderful.
All right.
Right. Great.
Thank you.
So now we've used the stone bridge dock. Everyone happy about that now?
Yep.
Okay. One element that we have is the correspondence we received. And I see now, I just spotted that Kenny Mendez is here. He's taking an appeal, I think, to the Shellfish Advisory Panel. Kenny, if you want to come on deck and talk to us about that. Kenny, can you hear me? I can see your picture here and your name.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
And now we can hear you, Ken. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I just wanted to urge the Harbor Commission to reconsider their recommendation that they provided previously on the oyster farm. I have a home. Actually, I live across the street from Chip Lawrence. I live at the top of the marsh. And I and many other anglers fish the outflow of the marsh area regularly, where the proposed oyster farm is supposed to be. And I just don't think that there's been easy or adequate notification process for recreational anglers. So when this started with the Harbor Commission a while ago to get input, I don't know that the recreational anglers, I certainly wasn't, I live on the marsh, had any idea that the oyster farm was going to be located there. Since their initial application, I think Ben Getz is on the line, and it's moved a couple of times. The third time probably based on my input and local angler input. I don't know whether the local community abutting the farm has had an opportunity to provide comment in its various permutations of being relocated, but I just feel that the Harbor Commission needs to consider the perspective of the local recreational angler who lives in the community and who fishes this often. I've met a number of anglers down there. I fish it at night frequently for striped bass. That's the best time to catch them, and just feel that this oyster farm would be displacing recreational anglers. And RISA, the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association, once they learned about this and heard from the local voice, me and a few others, they've written a letter against it. And so that was, and they sent that letter to the CRMC. Ben knows about that and was involved in that. There was just a meeting of the Rhode Island Marine Fisheries Council prior to this meeting, where it was a split vote, and then the chair had to decide on recommending the farm. But it was clear that many of the council members there did feel that this had some impact on local recreational angler access. It's an off the beaten spot, the outbound part of the Sapowhatan Marsh. It's been written about in books, and I just feel that perhaps the Harbor Commission didn't have the voice of the anglers, given what the process is like for these farms, to hear from them and how it's used by recreational anglers. So that was the purpose of my letter, the PowerPoint presentation, just so people could have a clear understanding of how that is used recreationally and what the value is that Tiverton brings.
For John Roberts.
The value that
Oh, yeah.
Tiverton has, and perhaps the Tiverton Town Commission, Harbor Commission has, for understanding the value for recreational anglers and those who use it.
Ben,
I'd like to
Ben,
say
would you
that-
like to speak in response to that, please?
This is Paul Duarte. I'd just like to say that I wasn't aware of that being a angler spot, and we probably, I don't think anyone really did on the commission at that time, and we were concerned that we moved that outside the public fishing access shellfishing area, because in the original plan they wanted to put it in the public shellfishing area. So that became our concern, to get it out completely out of that area. And so now this is new information, and I don't know, I kind of have a different opinion on it now that I hear that it's an angler spot, and I would maybe not recommend.
Well, we can't, at this point, we can't take action on it because it's not on the agenda as an action item of that nature.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, I was going to ask Ben to respond in terms of, excuse me, the Shellfish Advisory Panel's role in this, if you would, please.
Sure. Thanks, Bruce. So just to be clear, that the Shellfish Advisory Panel is a subcommittee of the Marine Fisheries Council, and it is the Marine Fisheries Council that is the body we are legislatively required to obtain a recommendation from. And that recommendation is required to be considered by our full CRMC council in rendering a decision. The Marine Fisheries Council delegates the initial review of these applications to their subcommittee, the Shellfish Advisory Panel. When this application reached the Shellfish Advisory Panel back, a long time ago last year, they actually found it confusing that there had been a change in the site, and that change was to address this commission's concern about the recreational shellfishing layer. Also came from DEM at the time. That did move the site a little closer to the channel. However, the revision that I brought to the commission here when they reconsidered when you guys reconsidered your objection was the form of the lease that is moving forward, that is endorsed by DEM and CRMC, and it moves it a little further. It moves it outside of the outflow channel onto it, albeit it's kind of on the edge, but it is outside. Now this is out opposite the channel of the fishing area, the DEM fishing area. That's where the access and the parking is that we are all familiar with on the just to the north of the bridge there. Certainly the vast majority of the fishing and recreation occurs at that access area. And this is probably more than 400 feet from there. Now, that's not to say some fishermen don't wade into the water. However, you know, at higher tides, this site would be probably prohibited from wading depth. But really what it comes down to is that this application has been changed many times over its 2-year lifespan. And we've done that to address concerns of this body here and others, including fishermen. My predecessor, Dave Butel, advised the applicant in the revision that moved it further out of the channel as well. And the Marine Fisheries Council. So what happened was this application went to the full council at CRMC, and they remanded it back to the Marine Fisheries Council because they had actually failed to achieve a motion that rendered a recommendation. So it was back to them actually just tonight, moments ago, on reconsider for them to make a full recommendation. And as Mr. Mendez noted, they determined, as is their charge, that the application was consistent with the pursuit of the marine fisheries. One of the reasons noted by the chair and others in support of that motion was that we have to balance the uses of these areas. And this is a very small site. It's less than an acre, about 9/10 of an acre. About 4% of that area would actually have gear on it. You know, the rest would be open spaces between the gear. It certainly would be an area that you could continue to fish in, maybe not directly in the lease at all tides, but it's a very small portion of an area where there's still plenty of space to fish and catch fish. And I'm not saying that it's not a place where people fish. It is, but I'm saying that they're not mutually exclusive, at least not to the point where people aren't going to be prohibited from fishing altogether there. And that was the decision of the council tonight, and I support that decision.
Well, the council's remanded it to as I understand it, the Marine Fisheries Council, correct? To get them to make a vote one way or the other?
Right, yes, essentially that they issue a letter at the, so after the SAP review, they likewise could not come to a recommendation. So it was appealed to the Marine Fisheries Council, the full council. They also failed to make a motion that passed. I received a letter from the chair, Mr. Bob Ballou, from DEM, recounting the travel through their review process, and it wasn't something that I had thought would be, fatal to its final review by the CRMC Council. CRMC legal counsel during the meeting decided it would be best to remand it back to the MFC so that they could provide a clear recommendation, which they did tonight, which was a positive one.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So the Marine Fisheries Council has now voted affirmatively to recommend it to for approval, and that recommendation now goes to CRMC?
That is correct.
Okay, and actually, Mr. Mendez can speak at that meeting as well. Am I correct?
Absolutely. It's a public hearing.
Right.
If I have a minute, if you know, I don't want to interrupt, but whenever
speaking,
the
please?
time is right. This is Kenneth Mendez. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I just want to say, I was on that meeting as well, and listened, and that was accurate. And I think the dynamic in the decision was by the commission in looking at the area and thinking about fisheries in general and the impact of oyster farms on fisheries. And then they applied that to this specific project, given what Mr. Getz said and the movement and the amount of time. So there was a bit of kind of a macro view of this and not a real understanding of what happens there locally for the people who live in the community and who use the fisheries. So I completely understand their perspective and understand how that decision making is, but the Harbor Masters Council here represent our community and the folks who live there and use it and fish it. And I'm not sure whether this commission had the voice of the angler and those who use it and understand how locally, while it's 4%, that area in that fisheries is quite fertile. It's a well-kept secret. You can see in my PowerPoint presentation that it has been written about in books. It's off the beaten path, and it's there for public use and local community use as well. And there are many Tiverton anglers I've met who use that area, and actually the great thing about it is you could wade it at night. It's accessible in those areas, and with a spinning rod you could cover the whole area of where, if you wade in there, and many do, can cover that area where the oyster farm would be with a spinning rod. So I just wanted to make sure this commission knew that while MFC and CRMC might have the jurisdiction and recommendation, I think it would be very valuable to have a local angler and a local community input on this. And as Paul just said earlier, had he known this information, he probably would have changed his opinion on it. And, you know, it's better late than never, and it's better to have complete information as this body considers the work and the decisions they've made previously.
Mm-hmm. The Bowen Farm has been on our agenda 3 or perhaps even 4 times, and our agenda is posted, and that's the legal requirement. There's one of the things that I verbally pushed at Coastal for is the requirement of giving notice to abutting landowners about these projects. Chip, you got your hand up.
Yes. Let's see, I've got several comments. Well, fish swim. So while you have an area that's relatively small, being a fisherman, I know that they will swim in unexpected ways and easily could get tangled in the equipment as they do move. One other new piece of information, while it was true that the farmer who raises cattle that's on the Sepauwett Marsh had terminated all his cattle. They didn't have them anymore. Now he's got them back. So the issue about pollution and those oysters getting in pollution is again on the table. It wasn't for a while because he quit. And let's see what else. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, those are the points I wanted to make.
As I recall, Chip, you were in the first go around adverse to this, and you may very well in the second. Forgive me, I don't remember your vote exactly. In large part because you're concerned about the pollution issue from the farm coming out of the Sepauwett marshes.
Yeah, I was concerned about that. My last question was, why does he want it there? You know, what's so big about that? There's another one around the corner. There's plenty of space. It doesn't have to interfere with a recreational fisherman. There's no reason why it has to be there. Ben, what's the reason why he wants it right there?
Well, CRMC doesn't tell people where to put their applications. We have a review process that's designed to, determine if that's an appropriate place and can be accommodated. I brought this application before you guys a number of times, and the last time was unanimous vote that it proceed with a positive outcome. So, and the pollution issue that is handled by DEM, Office of Water Resources. They have 12 years of testing data on all the water bodies to support an approved classification. If the water quality there does degrade, well then, that is on the farmers, that's their risk to take. But DEM.
Well, it's also on us who eat oysters.
Yes, that is why DEM has a very strict water classification program that is overseen by the FDA.
I'd like to make a comment, please.
Yep.
It's Paul Duarte. When the Bowens brought all this up to us in the first place, they did not. They said, "Oh, there's no shellfish there, anyways." They didn't say anything about being an angler spot. They didn't say anything about they were hell bent on getting the thing as close to shore so they could access it from the shore. Now they've moved it out so they have to access from a boat. Like Charlie was saying, the fact that they're going to access it from a boat anyways, why does it have to be there? If there's, I was not aware of it being an angler spot. I wasn't made aware. They made us aware that the people they said that were next door were totally okay with it. Well, when I did the research, those people weren't next door. They were about a half a mile down the river. So I'm getting a little bit perturbed at this point right now, because and because of the way that this thing was presented to us without all the facts, and we just went with what was presented to us and we didn't have all the facts. Having all the facts now, I'm against it. And if there's a way that we can have a revote on it, I would revote, and my vote would be against it. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, this was not on the agenda for motion to reconsider, but it can certainly be put on. When does Coastal pick this up again? Ben?
It's currently not scheduled yet, but it will most likely be soon.
You give me an order of magnitude soon?
I can't. Our agendas are very fluid at this time. We got a lot of business at CRMC going on.
You do. That you do. So you don't know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can have a special meeting on this item if people wish to have it brought back up and do a motion to reconsider and have the Bowens address these issues, give them an invite back. They don't have to come. They can come. Ben obviously can come if people want, but I have to renotice it, and we can do a Zoom for it. We gotta be careful with regards to the date, because, well, I guess we could use Andy's Zoom meeting site, because we now don't have to just comply with the town's one meeting a day issue, because they only have one Zoom account. They don't have two. From a consensus perspective, I know how Paul feels. I'm suspect I know how Chip feels. How do other members feel?
Hey, Bruce, I got a question for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, you still there?
Yeah.
Are the buoys still out there from where they marked the location of the new farm?
Yeah, they should be. Last time I was there, they were. That was maybe a month ago.
I just suggest everyone actually go down there and take a look, because it's pretty far off the shoreline now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, they moved it quite a bit away from where anyone's fishing. It's closer, it's further out to the river and closer to the houses than it is to the beach. So before everyone wants to revo, I suggest they at least go look at the area and look at where the farm is marked before you make another decision. Because they've been changing their plans and accommodating us, and now we're gonna backfire on them. That's just my thought.
Good point. But was it Bill? Is that the guy that wrote the PowerPoint?
Ken Mendez.
No,
Ken Mendez.
it's Kenny. And I was just fishing there 2 nights ago, and there was a guy who was standing inside the oyster farm at low tide who was casting into the current markings right now. You could wade into it and cast across it. So please go take a look, but it's the people who use it who are avid fishermen who know about how this is a well-kept secret and a treasure of Tiverton, who wade in there and fish it quite often, just had no idea that this was happening. I don't even know whether the neighbors in the area were given notice, but maybe that's not the process of notification. But it's right in there, and there have been kayakers who've come through and had no idea about the farm when I asked them about it. So there's not a great awareness down there among the recreational anglers and the folks who live in the community right next to where that farm would be. But you could certainly wade into it right now, and many anglers do, and who are quite avid. And you could cast a spinning rod to each corner of the oyster farm.
You wade in chest waders kind of thing?
Yep. And during the summer months, I wet wade, and you could definitely do that. It's safe. It's very safe. There are no rocks, and it's easy access.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the book Striper Moon, which is in my PowerPoint that I shared, it's by Kenny Abrams, who's a local angler, and there's a picture of the Sapowit Marsh there, and he says it's off the beaten path. And again, Risa, who had no idea about this early in the process, because it is off the beaten path, now that they know about it, do object to it.
I would correct you there, Kenny. Risa's been notified of this since the preliminary determination. Even though they did not weigh in, they were notified.
Yes, and they have since sent you a letter saying they're against it. Is that correct?
I have not received a letter. I received an email.
And did the email say they were against it?
Yeah, they said they took a vote by email.
And that their board rejects the.
Yeah, and it was less than 20.
Plan.
It was 24 hours before the meeting that I received that. Yes, the CRMC meeting.
I presume that was put into the record, right, Ben? Even though
it wasn't available to be put into the record before the meeting. It was right before the meeting happened, but
okay.
It will be.
So Bruce, this is Andy. I would certainly like to revisit the issue. I'd like to learn more. I was not aware of the angler angle to this, and I would like to, was it Tyler's suggestion to go there and take a look? I'd like to do that.
Okay, let's everybody make a commitment to drive down there and then email me at my office as to whether or not you'd like to have a special meeting with this one item on the agenda to reconsider the Bowen application and our position on that. And whatever that comes up to be, whatever that consensus is, it's not everybody talking to anyone else. It's just would you want to have a meeting? It's a scheduling issue. It's not a rulemaking. It's not a decision making.
Right.
Would you want to have a meeting? And I'll let you know what the outcome. And I will identify, and I'll talk with Andy if we end up getting a consensus that people want to have a meeting. I will get you dates and times, and we'll tee this thing up if that's the consensus of people. But let's everybody promise ourselves that in the next 24 hours, We'll all drive down there and take a look. See, are the markers orange balls or something, Tyler? Or Ben?
They're just white pot buoys.
Okay, they're white pot buoys is what we're.
Yeah, and I would say the applicants would be probably more than willing to meet you as well and to discuss. They have been very open and forthcoming with all. They've even tried to engage with some of the fishermen, some who are on this call as well, but they've all declined to talk to them.
Okay.
And Ben, you might want to advise them to get rid of the old buoys, because I know when I looked at it before, they had the old buoys and the new buoys there, so it could be a little confusing.
Yeah,
What do the new ones look like?
They're the same buoys, but they just had the old ones there also. When they moved it out, they put new buoys in to market, but I believe the old ones were still there.
I will contact them. If you're 24 hours notice for this might be a little tough, but yeah, I will ask them to confirm that the buoys in the proper places. And honestly, if you really want to be sure about this, you should probably go out and confirm the GPS coordinates as well.
And I would be happy to meet with council members and show them as well, just as the farmers would. I was not, Ben, I did not speak for RISA. You were asking me whether that would change my opinion. I can't speak for RISA that you have there. And
I wasn't asking you to speak for. I wasn't asking you to speak for RISA.
Okay.
You're one of two objectors of record for this. Before I had the last minute weigh in from RISA.
And I would just encourage the council members to look at the spot at low tide, because at high tide you won't be able to see anything, and it's really at low tide where you'll have a better sense for, if you're not going to put on waders and wade in there with a spinning rod and throw it, I'd suggest going at low tide.
Is fishing better at low tide?
It is actually. Falling tide, definitely.
I think 24 hours is too soon to be able to.
Okay. That's too soon. So by the weekend, how's that?
Is there a process for notifying the neighbors in the area as well? Is that a requirement or not?
No, that's not a requirement. And while I scratched my head and thought about it, the moment I do that, then I'm putting myself in a position where I'm going to have to do it to everybody, and everyone's going to say, I didn't get noticed, so on and so forth. There is no requirement by CRMC or an applicant to do an abutters list as one would do in a zoning or planning type development that towns manage. Coastal is not. They actually, Coastal, coming to us on a preliminary basis on this project, we're only doing it out of consideration. There's no requirement, as I understand it, within the regulatory process. They only have to come to us ultimately when the true application is filed, and they need to get local input. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. Am I correct?
That is correct. The preliminary determination process was developed largely to gather local knowledge, local input early in the application. It is required to have a preliminary determination. Hosting it with the town is a practice that has developed out of courtesy and has worked well for the program.
Because
low tide tomorrow is right around noontime, and about an hour later every day.
Right. Well, I told people, let's go let me know about the weekend. Send me an email. Let me know what you want to do so I can tee it up for next week if in fact we're going to meet. Okay.
So Bruce, a matter of etiquette, is it inappropriate for us to have Kenny show us around? Is that considered a meeting that should not happen?
No, an individual should, two of you going, it's not a quorum. It's when you get a quorum going. And if we start discussing amongst ourselves online and that kind of thing, that's what's called a rolling quorum. We cannot do that either. All you can do is scheduling without having specific notice to the public about what you're talking about and when you're going to talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, two things. It would probably be a good idea for Ken to email. What I can do, Ken, I'm not sure I have your email still at my office. Pop me another email. I will reply with the THC groups email stuff, so you can coordinate with them if you wish. And Ben, I would, as was suggested by Tyler, very smart move, Tyler, to have the Bowen brothers remove the old float so we know exactly where we're looking.
And you want them to do this by tomorrow?
Well, no, the sooner the better. I mean, whenever members are going to get down there, so it's less confusing.
All right. Well, I know the Bowens, you know, they've worked with the commission in the past. They've appeared before you many times. I'm sure they would be happy to continue to work with you. They have been very patient through this 2-year process.
Yeah, it's been from an administrative agency perspective, from a practitioner in that field, it's been a long one. I absolutely agree with you on that.
Yes, and I would just urge the commission to to do the right thing here. Yeah.
Very good. On to the next fun thing. That lovely abandoned or somewhat abandoned, questionable abandoned O'Day 20 or whatever it is, it's thing on a trailer with a mast on its side down at the corner of Evans and Riverside Drive, just north of the bridge. I went there with the intention of trying to take a picture of the registration numbers and then couldn't see any. And it was, the bramble was thick enough I wasn't going to wade into it.
You can't see anything.
No. Just like Paul did, I looked at the GIS map, and I think that's on Bridge and Turnpike Authority property, but I'm not sure. It does seem to lay right below a house.
The GIS map is not, of course, a legal map, but it typically is pretty close. And if he owns up to the road, well, then basically it's parked on his land because 80% of that boat is pushed back behind the telephone pole. So usually the telephone pole, any water lines or anything like that, they're about 15 feet from the edge of the road, and he's about 15 feet from the edge of the road. So he's probably on his own property, whoever owns it. But we don't know who owns it.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's one of those houses in that GIS map that I sent. You can get the plot and find out who the owner is, but we don't know where the boat is in relationship to the GIS map. But it's near a telephone pole, and you probably stand there and look up and say, okay, this must be this house here.
I mean, we could, if you stand near the boat, you can actually just get a GPS reading with your cell phone.
Yeah, that too, yeah. Well, I don't have that, but yeah, as far as that boat is it's most likely the way he pushed it back and up the hill, it must be full of water or something by now. It's got to be. It's probably a place to breed mosquitoes or something, but there's no cover on it or nothing.
Hey, this is Greg. What is our interest in such a boat? I mean, what do we have any authority, or is it our
It's within
business?
100 feet of the. It's within 100 feet of the water. So it could.
It's just an abandoned boat.
Okay, it's the Harbor Commission's business to deal with abandoned boats in Tiverton waters. Is that what you're saying?
It's proximate to the harbor of the harbor, it's the coastal waters and harbor of Tiverton. This is in a general area of the ramp and such. It's on the edge, no pun intended, of our jurisdiction. I don't think it's inappropriate for us to be concerned about it. It was brought up by one of our members to my attention, and I put it on there to try to get anyone's input on it. Because go ahead, Bill.
So I reviewed the code of ordinances prior to this meeting. I think if it was abandoned in the water, and stop me if you guys have already talked about this. It's in your jurisdiction. But in accordance with 38-26 of the Code of Ordinances, this really should be referred to the police department as a junked, abandoned, or inoperable vehicle. Now, I'm not the solicitor, but in accordance with this ordinance,
You said 3826?
38-26, 38-27 talks about storing or keeping an open prohibited and then notice of removal. So 38, 26, 27, 28. It's under environment. So this is important in regards to a junked or abandoned vehicle that's inoperable. Typically, if a car is abandoned, they usually put one of those orange stickers on it. If we can't find who the owner is, that's a notice. And then the police is supposed to remove it at the owner's expense and store it for a period of time. And I'll stop there before I get myself in more trouble regarding legalese. But I think that because it's not abandoned in the water, it's not the harbor master's responsibility. It's the police department's responsibility, I believe.
Okay.
So just out of curiosity, if we have the VIN number or the HIN number from the boat, do we have a mechanism for finding the owner? Do we have access to that database? Tyler, that's probably a question for you.
Oh, that would be the.
No, you can only go by registration numbers where it was last registered.
Okay.
Yeah, the DEM where it would be registered might be able to tell you do a lookup by VIN number, find out who the last owner was.
You'd have to know what state it was last registered in. They're not all interconnected.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't believe there's any registration numbers on that hull.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to climb up on there and see if I'd find one.
No, they're not. You can't see them without
a
crawling.
VIN number or a hull number.
All right, then we can, nothing else, bring it to the police attention. The last item on the, well, not the last new item is speeding in the basin issues. I received an email from Mary Lou Sullivan, the administrative assistant, relative to a complaint by a gentleman named Jim Porter, and gave me the phone number. So I called Jim up, and he was concerned and expressed a strong opinion about the fact that people are, blowing through the basin too regularly, some bigger boats than others. And he complained about, large wakes coming in and affecting his dock and his boat that's on his dock. And he was expressing opinions about Tyler maybe should spend some time out in the basin with the intention of to highlight the idea to people that the speed limit means something. He also is an advocate of putting signs at the beginning of the harbor at Stonebridge, the letters 3 feet tall, and then down at the Sonneconnet River Bridge or that vicinity, and on the trestles, larger signs trying to get people to slow down and recognize the basin. In the past, there have been speed signs, Tyler, weren't there? On the trestle, at least I know that.
Yeah, there's some on the Sonneconnet River Bridge that are all spray painted over, and then there was some on Stonebridge, but those were removed when it was rebuilt.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do we know if those that were on Stonebridge were destroyed or anything?
I do not know.
Yeah.
So what do we have for speed signs now?
No wake buoys at the Stonebridge, the boat ramp, Sonneconnet River Bridge, and the boathouse. And then Portsmouth also has the same.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but there's no wake buoys. They're not exactly large. The question is, should we put up some signage, maybe on Stonebridge and up on the the trestle. We should advocate for the town to do that.
Yeah, probably probably a metal aluminum sheet sign, and I don't know, how would you would have to hang it. You'd have to drill and put mounts to hang a sign like that, unless you went there and painted it in place.
Huh.
right to the cement or right to the stone.
What do you,
Definitely speed in there. I've seen them more several times. Quite big craft just buzzing through there.
Yeah, I see it all the time, every day.
it's dangerous. Wakes cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
What do you, Tyler, do you have any suggestions?
Not really off the top of my head. There's just not out there during the week. And then Portsmouth's out there during the week. They have a full-time harbor master that's out there Tuesday to Sunday. So he's through the basin, but you can't be in the basin every second, catching every single person.
No, Portsmouth has a lot of obligations on the, they have a huge waterfront contrasted with us because they're an island.
Are we catching any of this on video?
No.
Nothing you said, no.
Eating? No.
No, he did not relay catching any of this on video. I could perhaps relay that to him and say, hey, pop up your camera quickly and see if we can identify who it might be, if there's a particular sinner that's a routine sinner.
One of the other things too is I think it's important to say not only 5 miles an hour speed limit, no wake, because some boats can move at 5 miles an hour and put up a 3-foot wake.
So the no wake buoys do say no wake or 5 miles an hour or no wake.
Yeah.
So
if you were to stop them, then they couldn't go, well, I didn't know it said 5 miles an hour. I'm doing 5 miles an hour, That's what you're going to get if you were to stop somebody, because they would just play ignorance to the rule,
If you take a boating course, though, it's unambiguous.
Yeah.
It's no wake and no faster than 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's completely unambiguous.
Yeah.
now something else you do have to realize about the basin here with the 5-knot current. If you have a twin screw power boat, you have to go faster than that current to control your boat.
Yeah, that's true.
So some days when the current is ripping, like a full moon or something like that, there will be wakes that you can't tell them to slow down, or they can't control their boat safely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a difficult area. It's not like Newport Harbor or Bristol Harbor where the current's not ripping through there, where you can actually go slow and the current won't affect you. Over here, you're not going faster than the current, or if you're going with the current, you could be making a wake just to control your boat.
Yeah.
Well,
So
definitely
it is a little difficult at times.
It's a good point.
But I think you can make a judgment call on that.
Yeah, no, you can definitely make a judgment call between someone doing 30 through here and someone just making a minimal wake to control.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've had to go faster than 5 ground speed to get between the stone bridge when it's really ripping.
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, I own a twin screw boat, a big flybridge boat, and if you're going through the harbor and the current's going with you, if you're idling, you're not controlling your boat.
Yeah.
The current's going to take you wherever it wants to.
And it does squirrel you around.
Oh, yeah. And on a summer day, it's not easy to get through here if you don't have control.
No.
I know that the law says, the Rhode Island boating law says, if you cause a wake and it does damage to someone else's boat, that you're liable for that damage.
Correct.
But liable to who? Do you contact the harbor master, the Coast Guard, the police,
Well, you contact the harbor master if there was damage done to a boat due to a wake.
Yeah.
If you can find out who caused that wake.
Yeah. So somebody would have to report that registration.
Yes.
To
And,
the
and
harbor.
that's happened at the boathouse before with wakes coming through, damaging boats.
Yeah.
And then they contacted me, and then they go through DEM for a report for damage incident.
So maybe sign report damages or wakes to your local harbor master sign. You know, I don't know. On the end of the bridge, you know, instead of, because we already know there's no wake and it's 5 miles an hour.
Well, the general public needs to be made aware of it as well. You know, that's his point, and it's probably a good reminder. I don't know who would be responsible for doing the signs and such. No clue. And I'm not sure we have any money in the budget for it at this point. Tyler, do you know what's our budget looking like?
I haven't looked at it recently. I would have to recheck it.
Okay. I'll keep this on the agenda to see if we can make some progress on it. All right, next item, if I may. How are we doing on the mooring renewals, Tyler?
Good. They're pretty much all in. There's a few that aren't, so they'll be getting tagged and reminders to pay. And the boat's up and running great.
Well, that's nice. Don't jinx ourselves. Knock wood. Very dangerous thing about boats. All right. Well, this has been an exciting one. Anyone else have any comments for the good of the order? Or anything they'd like to see on the agenda for July? My God.
No, hey, can I make just one comment?
Yeah, sure.
This is Paul Duarte again, because I'm on the phone, not on a Zoom call. I went to the, I had talked to, first let me start this way. I had talked to Tyler about being an assistant harbor master for him. And I was willing to do that with, without the pay, but still, have the title in the town. And I went to the Ethics Commission, Rhode Island, and they said that I couldn't do that and be on the Harbor Commission at the same time. Even if I did it for no pay, I would have to quit the Harbor Commission in order to do that. So, sorry, Tyler. I hope you found an assistant, or if you haven't, I hope you find one soon. But that is just a comment I wanted to make, where I went through the through the Ethics Commission about taking that. I think I maybe told you, Tyler, and I told Bruce.
Yeah.
But just so everybody's aware, that's all I have. I can make a motion to adjourn.
Well, before we adjourn, we have to bid adieu to our member.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Greg, do you want to address the committee?
Yeah, I had sent an email out earlier. I just finally decided simplify my life. I got a lot of things going on, and I just decided. I go through this cycle. I've been doing it my whole adult life, where I get overloaded with projects and activities, and I finally start burning myself out, and I have to decide to cut back, and I'm at that point right now. So I just decided the Harbor Commission is one of the things I'm going to cut out. So after I finish up these meetings tonight, then I will be resigned, and I'm sure you all can find good, talented people to fill the holes. And I wish you all well. And that's about it. And I'm sure I'll be bumping into most of you at one point or another anyway.
You've been fantastic. You've been unbelievable.
Hate to see it go.
A great asset.
You really have. I really appreciate it. And that brings up another unfortunate truism. We've lost the gentleman who's been our secretary voluntarily for the last year and a half, 2 years now, almost, Greg. Something like that. Since Steve left us. So we're going to need someone to step up to that particular plate. If we could get somebody to give it some thought. Greg will tell you it's real easy, right? Type reasonably quickly. A superb job, and I really appreciate it, Greg. I wish you all the very best.
First class job.
Bruce, I don't know if this is taking things out of order, but apparently there's a Will Mendez who has his hand raised,
Oh,
who we might have missed.
I have not seen that. No one's been abroad. Mr. Mendez, Will Mendez.
Yes, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate the chance to speak. And I just like to note, I have had my hand up, since earlier in the meeting to speak on, what my dad brought up. And that's just to say that the notification process and all of this, figuring this out through Zoom over the last year has not been perfect. But, it's, as he said, better late than never. I just like to offer, some support and maybe also a little bit of a different perspective. To me, the issue, is one about fin fishermen. I think clearly, shell fishermen and fin fishermen are two separate breeds and separate perspectives, and that an impact to the shellfish community is not the same as an impact to the fin fish community and vice versa. But this is also an issue of equity. This is one of the only areas in Tiverton where people can wade fish. People don't need a boat, and I think over the last year what we've seen is people have had little respite except for the outdoors. And so I think maintaining Tiverton's equitable access to outdoor recreational activity is no small thing. And even though that impact might be minor to lots of individuals, I think collectively it represents, quite a large impact, even though it's harder to get, so many people to speak to that smaller impact that it has to their day-to-day life. And as well, I know this has been a long, extended, drawn out process, but, this is a decision that will, irrefutably permanently impact the coastline of Tiverton and the resources there. And so, I urge the council to, despite the fact that it has been 2 years, to have perseverance and to make sure that the truth is brought to light, no matter how long that takes. And, I appreciate the receptivity of the Bowens to be responsive. And I'm sure they would also like to work to a solution that maximizes the resources for everybody. And so I'd just like to, offer that perspective that, again, this is also not just an issue for fin fishermen, but it's an issue for the people who kayak, who paddleboard, who swim recreationally in that area as well. And, it's a spot that I spent countless hours with my dad, countless nights fishing. And I hope to someday spend, countless hours with a child of my own. And so, the Harbor Commission has an important job of the stewardship of the resources of this area, which is something I hold near and dear. And, being 26, I hope to enjoy them for a long time. And, I urge you guys to think of the stewardship of the area.
Very good. Are there any other hands raised out in the audience that I don't, Andy, I don't know how you saw it, but.
Yeah, you just click on participants and there's two tabs, one for panelists and one for attendees.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I see.
So actually Ben's got a hand raised as well. I don't know if that's left over from earlier or not.
I apologize. That's from earlier.
Okay.
But yeah, Mr. Mendez, welcome to contact me and I can arrange a meeting with the applicants. I've offered it before and he declined.
Very good. So do I have another motion?
I'll move. We adjourn.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.